Hello, girls. Hi, my name is Candace, aka Picasso Baby, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create your very own Rodeo Cowgirl. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for stopping back by to paint with me today. So, as most of you know, if you don't, the Cowboy Carter Tour has begun. So today I'm going to be showing you a super cute, very fun and simple Rodeo Cowgirl tutorial. But before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and turn on those post notifications. So I'm going to go over everything that we're going to be using to complete this tutorial today. As always, I am working with a 16 by 20 inch canvas, but remember you can use the canvas size of your choice. We're also going to be doing some drawing today, so you want to make sure that you have a pencil or you can use a black Sharpie. I'm actually going to be using both, so if you have both, perfect. And I'm using a fine point black Sharpie. You also want to make sure that you have some different size acrylic brushes, a water cup for your brushes, along with some napkins or a rag to dry your brushes off on. And then we are also using acrylic paint. I'm going to be using the colors Chrome Yellow, Burnt Sienna, Phthalo Blue, Mars Black, Bright Red, and Titanium White. And as always, everything is linked down in the description below. And let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we have to get our cowgirl drawn out. Now, if you are using a different size canvas, whether it's smaller or larger, remember you're going to space your drawing out for the size of your canvas. I am going in with my Sharpie, but you can always go in with your pencil, or if you're going to be using both, go in with your pencil first, and then that way you can go over the pencil lines with the Sharpies. But I'm going in with my Sharpie, and the first thing I want to do is I want to start off with her hat. So I'm going to take two fingers and put it at the top of my canvas here. And I am just going to make a little mark there. Now, what I'm going to do with that mark is I almost want to create like a really wide V. So when I get to the middle, I'm going to start to go back up. And these lines do not have to be perfect. We're going to paint right over them. But you want to create a really wide V. Now, on top of that V, where it starts to kind of go up at, on one side here, I am going to curve up for the top of the hat, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So that's how big my hat is going to be. I also want to drop the underneath of my brim. So for that, I'm going to place two more fingers underneath this line. You can do 2 or 3, and I'm going to make a little mark. And all I'm going to do for that mark is I'm actually just going to pull it right across. So we've got that wide V, we've got the hat on top, and then these are going to be underneath the brim, the underneath of our brim showing here. So I put a line across. Now from there, we want to go down into the face. So I'm going to start right where the top of my hat is here, just a little bit over from it. I'm going to go down, and I'm going to curve over. But as you can see, I didn't take it all the way. You see how I started here at the hat? I didn't take it all the way to the hat here. I stopped a little bit before the hat because I'm actually going to make one of the ears show. So it's more like her face is kind of turned to the side a little bit so you can see her ear there. Now while we're still in the facial area, I'm going to go ahead and draw her lips. So it's like a really wide M. I'm going to pull a line across. And then I'm just kind of mirroring the bottom, but just a little bit smaller. But remember, you can make your lips as big or as small as you would like. Now, the next step we're going to do is draw in the top of her body. Now, this part gets a little tricky. So you want to watch what I'm doing and then go along and do it. And again, if you have your pencil, use your pencil first. That way you can erase any mistakes. Now, from here, on this side where her ear is, I want to draw her neck and the top of her shoulder. So I am going to go down, and then I am going to curve over and off the canvas. Almost like a really wide L, but then I took it down and off the canvas. I'm going to do the same thing over here, except I'm not taking it off the canvas, and my neckline is going to be a little bit shorter. So over here, I'm not going to go down as far. So you see how that point is far? I'm going to stop up a little bit. I'm going to do that curve over again, but I'm not taking it off the canvas. I'm actually just going to take it down a bit, and I'm going to stop right there. Now I want to go in and get the top of her shirt. So from her, it doesn't matter which shoulder you start at or which end of the neck you start at, but at the end of her neck, before you get to her shoulder, I want to do a really deep U. And from there, I'm going to be able to kind of start connect some things. So see how I started here? Now I want to come over a little bit. And I'm going to start to draw a line down. This is the side of her chest, so I'm curving over. And I'm going to curve in, stop there, and I'm going to curve over here to create her chest. Now, I'm going to finish up this side by simply, you see how the shoulder got cut off by her chest here? I'm going to pick up underneath, so that's going to be her arm. And then I'm going to create the same line just a little further in underneath her chest, because this is going to be like her stomach area. So that's going to end up being her shirt. This is all her arm. Now on this side, it's a little bit different. So the same way I did the tank top or the shirt sleeve here, I'm going to come over on this side. But this time, I'm going to create a bit of a curve. I'm not going to take it off the canvas. I'm going to stop about there. And for this arm, I'm going to come inside of this little section here. And I'm going to take a line right off the canvas like that. So this arm is going off the canvas. And then I want to create a line to close up her shirt. So all I'm going to do is pull a line down there. Now, once you got all of that in, the last thing we're going to do is add the hair. It's super simple. I'm going to come back up at her ear here and pull a line off the canvas. For this side, I also want to come back towards the corner or where her ear might have been over here, but we're not doing the ear. And I'm going to pull a line down off the canvas. But I'm going to create one more line as well for the hair. I'm going to come down towards the middle of the face, almost across from the lips. And I am going to pull a line right across her shoulder, and I'm going to stop it at the top of her chest here. So we have some hair there, and this is all going to end up being hair. Once you have all of that done and your drawing is complete, we are now going to go ahead and start to paint. All right, so we are going to go ahead and start to paint in our cowgirl. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I am going to be using my largest brush, so a large flat brush. If you have a large round one, that works too. You just want a bigger brush. And I want to actually get a base coat on for the skin. So I'm going to use some of my burnt sienna. And as you can see, it's pretty light. So I just want to get a base coat on for my skin. And I'm going to do this on the face. And I'm actually going to paint right on top of the lips. I'm going to do this on the face. I'm going to get the neck and chest area covered. I'm going to get her arm down here filled. This little piece, so remember we pulled a line across her shoulder. So I'm not going to do the whole shoulder, just this little piece of the shoulder that's in front of the line there. And then I'm going to do this whole arm as well. Now remember, this is not in, and don't forget the ear up here. Now remember, this is not going to be her actual skin tone. Unless you like your burnt sienna or you like the brown that you're using, then you can absolutely make this your skin tone. It's going to be completely up to you. But I just want to get a base coat under there so that once we do add on the skin tone, it'll be nice and opaque. It won't be transparent or anything like that. You won't be able to see through it. So we're just going to go ahead and get this base coat on. So when you finish that, you might be able to see like how it's a little bit more transparent in different areas. So that's why we're doing this base coat. So once we add on her actual skin tone, that won't happen. It'll be nice and opaque. Now, while we let that dry, we're going to move on to the background. Now, I want my background to be like a denim blue. Remember, we're going for a Rodeo Cowgirl. So you want to keep using the same brush. Just make sure you wash it off and dry it really well. And right on my plate, I am going to take some of my white. I'm going to take some blue and a little bit of black. And I'm going to mix those all together. Now, you don't want to use a whole lot of black, but you do want to add a little bit to give you more of a denim color. If you like your blue as is, if you want to do blue and white, if you want to do a navy, you could do blue and black. If you want to do a different color, it's completely up to you. This is your rodeo, okay? So once you decide on your background color, you're going to fill in all of the background areas. So this piece up here between her hat, same thing over here. Underneath the brim of her hat and between her hair, same thing over here. And then on this arm, only underneath the arm here, you're going to get that filled in as well. This side is going to end up being all hair. So you just want to go ahead and get your background completely filled in with the color of your choice. All right, so now that we are done with our background, we're gonna go back in and add that second layer of the skin tone on. So this time we're gonna be actually doing the color that you would like, the color skin tone you want. Now keep in mind, if yours is not dry enough yet, give it a few minutes to dry. You can always blow dry it or you can let it air dry for a few minutes. You wanna make sure it's dry before you add this second coat on. Now I'm still using my biggest brush, so you wanna make sure to wash it out and dry it off really good. And if you like the brown that we were using, that burnt sienna as is, you can use it as is. And you can go back on with that second coat. The only thing that you don't want to do this time, don't paint over the lips again. This time, paint around the lips. Now, if you want to go lighter, you can mix up brown and white, and it will give you a lighter skin tone. Keep in mind, the more white you use, the lighter it's going to be. If you want to go for more of a caramel skin tone, you can mix up brown and yellow. And that'll give you more of a kind of medium caramel tone. And if you want to lighten up that, you can add white to it as well. And that'll give you an even lighter caramel tone. Now, if you want to go a little bit darker, you can mix brown and black. Keep in mind that the black does turn it dark really quickly, so you don't have to add a whole lot of it, just a little will do. But whichever color you decide, make sure you make enough of it to cover all of your skin tone areas except for the lips. So we're just gonna go ahead and get that second layer of skin on, and then we'll move to the next step together in a few. Now, once you have that second layer of skin on and it's nice and opaque and you can't see like any transparency or streaks in it, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the hair. Now, for the hair, of course, it's for Cowboy Carter. So I'm going to do some blonde, some honey blonde going on. You can make your hair whatever color you'd like. The only thing that you want to make sure to pay attention to is this little part here, this little piece we have closest to her face and neck here. We want that to be a little bit darker because that's going to be like the inside or back of her hair. So whatever you do for these pieces, you want to make sure this is a little bit darker. So what I'm going to be doing, and I'm still using my biggest brush. I know we haven't switched brushes yet, but this works well for really big spaces. So you want to make sure to wash it off really, really well. And what I'm going to do first, I actually want to get some bright colors on there first. So I'm just going to be picking up a lot of yellow and white and a very small amount of brown. I want to kind of just let this blend on here. So again, I'm picking up yellow, brown, and white. I'm picking up more yellow and white though, just a very small amount of brown. And I'm just letting it blend on its own right on the canvas. You can keep kind of flipping your brush over. It's really important that you do long strokes, just kind of dragging that paint down so that you can see the different streaks. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm picking up a lot of yellow, a lot of white, little bit of brown. Now, for that back part, I'm going to add a little more brown to my brush this time, just to make that a little bit darker back there. I still want the yellow and white happening, but I want a little more brown just to make it a little bit darker. Now, before this dries, I actually want to go back in and lighten some areas by adding some streaks. You can add darker or lighter streaks. It's completely up to you. But I'm going to wash all of that color out of my brush. So make sure you wash your brush really well and dry it off. And I'm going to go back in with some white first. So I am just literally going right on top of my hair, adding some white. And because your paint is still wet, it's going to blend right in. Some areas will stay super white, some areas will blend in. I'm going to put a little bit on my dark patch here too. And then I'm going to do the same thing right over here. If you want some darker streaks, you're going to do the same thing that I did with the white, except you're going to take brown or whatever color you'd like to darken it up and very gently go in there and add that wherever you want to see it at. And once you feel like you got your hair the color that you'd like, you got your streaks in there, before we can add anything else, we do want to let this dry completely. So all we're going to do is take a break. So you can always blow dry this on the cool setting until it's completely dry, or you can give yourself about a 10-minute break to let this dry completely, and then we'll start back on the next step together in a few.
One eternity later.
All right, now that our paintings are dry, so we've done our background, our skin tone, and our hair, now we're going to come in and do our shirt and our hat. Now this time, I am going to switch to the medium round brush. So I am going to start off by filling in my little tank. I want mine to be white, so I am just going to cover it in white. If you would like to do a different color, it's completely up to you, but you just want to go in and get your tank completely covered in the color of your choice. All right, now while my shirt is still wet, I do want to add like some shadow lines to kind of help bring the shape back out. So I'm not going to wash my brush off. I'm actually going to add a little more white to it. And whatever color you're using, you're going to add some of that color. I'm going to be using a little bit of black to create my shadow lines. If you did a different color shirt, like let's say, for example, you did a blue shirt, you can use white for your line. So you will be adding highlights instead of shadows. If you did a lighter color shirt, do shadow lines. If you did a darker color, if you did a darker color shirt, do highlights. So use a little bit of white on your brush. So I'm going to take a little bit of black, and where I'm going to be focusing this at is to bring back out the shape of her chest. So I'm going to start right at the shoulder here. And you see how because I have that white on there, it's turning my black gray. That's exactly what I want. So I'm following the shape that was already there for the chest. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm picking up more white and a little bit of black. And I'm just adding that shape back in. And outside of that, I'm going to add a little bit over here as well. So over on her shoulder here, you can add some down in this area, like if you want to create some little lines to like give that kind of fitted look, or just to give it that worn look. I'm going to make some little lines on here. But again, where you add the shadow lines and things are completely up to you. Now, because I'm working with white, I'm actually not going to wash my brush because I want my the underneath the brim of my hat to be a little bit of a really dark gray. So I'm not going to wash my brush. What I'm going to actually do is start to pick up black. Now, if you are doing your hat a different color, for example, if you're doing like a red hat, then you want the bottom of your hat or the brim underneath here, you want those to be either lighter than the color of your hat or darker than the color of your hat. I'm doing a black hat, so I want mine to be lighter. So I am going to be picking up black with that little bit of white still on my brush. I don't want it to be completely gray. I just don't want it to be as black as everything else. So you see how it kind of just has like a little bit of a gray hint to it, or hints of that white in there, because I'm picking up both colors together and just letting them blend right on the canvas. Now, I'm not going to pick up any more white, but I'm going to go ahead and start to fill in the rest of my hat. So the part that comes down over her face and also the top. I still have this black on my brush, and while my hat is still wet, I do want to kind of bring back the separation of the top of the hat and the brim here. So I am going to pick up a little bit of white, and I'm just going to come from here right across, and you'll see it'll blend out and give you a bit of a gray. If it disappears a little too much, you can always pick up a little more white. So that you can see the difference between the top and bottom of the hat. And then also, the same way I added some shadow lines in there, or some contour lines, I'm going to add some highlights on the hat. So I'm just adding a little bit of white there. I'm going to add some there as well. But remember, you can do the color of your choice based on what color hat you did. Same thing how we did the shirt. Whatever color if you did a lighter color, then you want to use a darker color to add some contouring or shadowing to it. If you did a darker color, you want to use a lighter color for highlights. So once you have all of that in, you can go ahead and wash this brush out, and we're gonna switch to a smaller brush. All right, now it's time to add in some details to really pull this together. So I am gonna switch to my smallest brush, and the first thing I wanna do is get my lips on. I am gonna be using this bright red as is. You can use whatever color you'd like for the lips, but you just wanna go in and get them completely filled in. And as we were doing the skin tone, you might have lost the shape of your lips a little bit. This is your time to go in and reshape it however you see fit. And once you've got the lips completely filled in, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and add some details to really pull this together. So I am going to be adding in a necklace and some earrings. I'm actually going to, instead of a necklace, of course, because we're doing our Rodeo Cowgirl, I am going to be adding in a bolo tie. So on my plate, still using my smallest brush, I want to take some blue and white and a very small amount of yellow and start to mix those in, because I'm going for a turquoise kind of color. So I'm going to add some more blue to that mixture. And you can add white to lighten it up. But once you get a shade that you like, what you're going to do is you make your bolo tie land wherever you'd like. I'm going to land it right in the middle of her chest. So I am just going to do a simple oval here. And then I'm going to wash this off and pick up a little bit of black to create the actual strings or necklace around it. So I'm going to come from one side of her neck and pull this to the top. Do the same thing on the other side, pull it to the top. And then I am going to pull 2 strings down. I want to put the 2 strings that I'm pulling down, I want to kind of keep them close together, and they are going to go right on top of my shirt. And how far down you take them is completely up to you. Now, once you've done that part, don't wash your brush off. I'm going to pick up some white to create some silver around it. So I'm actually not mixing the colors. I'm just picking up white with my black, and I'm going to do some dots all the way around. So I'm just kind of pressing or tapping my brush down, going all the way around. And I'm also going to close off the end. Now, if you like it just like that and you don't want to put anything at the end, feel free to skip this part. But I'm not going to put this underneath. I'm actually going to come right on top of my black and just add a little bit of white there to create a clasp on the ends. So you'll see it kind of turns gray. Now, we got that in. The next thing I want to do is I do want to give her a little bit of an earring over here. Now, you could do a turquoise earring to match the bolo tie. It's completely up to you. I'm actually just going to do a white stud. So I'm not washing my brush. I'm actually just going to pick up some white and do a little dot towards the bottom of the ear. But again, you can do it however you like, and you can make her earring as big as you like. It's up to you. Now I'm going to wash my brush off because I want to add some details to the lips before I start to fill the rest of this in. I'm going to pick up a little more white. Now that my brush is clean, I'm going to pick up some white. And I'm going to add some little highlights on my lips. So you see I'm just following the shape that's already there, kind of like I did the hat and the shirt. I just added some little white highlights on my lips. Now while all of that is drying, I am going to go ahead and start to outline my painting. Now you can use your medium brush or your smallest brush for this part. It's completely up to you. But all you're going to be doing is picking up black, and you're going to go in and start to outline everything to really clean it up. And you just want to take your time on this part. Just getting it all outlined and cleaned up. So we're just going to work on that for a few, and then we'll add the last details together in a few. I'm also going to go back in and outline my lips, and it's completely optional. If you want to leave yours as is, feel free to do so, but I'm going to outline my lips in black as well. Once you have outlined everything and cleaned it up, if there are any extra details that you would like to add, if you want to decorate her hat, if you want to add anything to her shirt, if you want anything in your background, it's completely up to you. But before you are completely finished, the very last thing you want to make sure to do is simply signing your Rodeo Cowgirl. So I'm just going to take a little bit of black paint, and I'm going to sign it right in the corner. You can sign your initials or your signature. It's completely up to you. But once you have signed your painting, you now have your very own Rodeo Cowgirl. Thank you all so much for painting with me today. I hope you have enjoyed creating your very own Rodeo Cowgirl, and I hope you enjoyed Cowboy Carter tour season. If you didn't get a chance to grab tickets or you're not going, just jump on TikTok or social media, anywhere. You will be able to enjoy the concert for free. But as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on those post notifications, and I will see you in the next tutorial.